Tonight, if a child in your home develops a fever, you can switch on a light, read a thermometer, call a doctor, and drive to an emergency room. Now imagine that the nearest clinic lies hours away by canoe. Rain has turned the river violent, and darkness is filled with mosquitoes carrying diseases you cannot see. This is daily reality in some of the most remote parts of the Amazon. Yet children are born there, grow there, play beside rivers, and learn to recognize a forest that would overwhelm most outsiders. So how do families keep them alive? The answer is not one secret plant or an immunity that Amazonian children magically possess. They survive through an entire system of care built over generations, shared responsibility, careful feeding, environmental knowledge, and wherever it is accessible, modern medicine. And before going further, one fact matters. The Amazon is not home to a single forest tribe. It contains hundreds of indigenous peoples, and many river communities, each with its own language, history, and child-rearing traditions, a practice documented. Among the Tsimane of Bolivia may not belong to the Awajun of Peru or the Runa of Ecuador. Still, the first layer of protection often begins before a baby can walk. In Tsimane communities studied in the Bolivian Amazon, mothers commonly carry infants in slings during the day and sleep beside them at night. That closeness is practical. In a hot, humid environment, a caregiver can quickly notice when a child feels unusually warm, stops feeding, breathes differently, or becomes too quiet. The alarm is not a machine. It is another human body that knows the baby's normal rhythm. Feeding is another defense. Research in Amazonian communities has documented breastfeeding continuing well into a child's second year. Breast milk supplies energy, hydration, and immune protection during the period when infants are most vulnerable. It can also reduce early dependence on water or food that may carry parasites. Later, children are gradually introduced to locally available foods. Among Awajun families studied along Peru's Cenepa River, traditional foods supplied most of the young children's dietary energy and were often more nutrient-dense than market foods, but none of this makes childhood easy or perfectly safe. Malaria, pneumonia, intestinal parasites, malnutrition, contaminated water, and long distances from medical care still kill children across the region. Some communities face new dangers from mining, mercury pollution, deforestation, and disrupted food systems. The truth is not that rainforest knowledge makes children invincible. It is that survival depends on recognizing danger early and ensuring that one child is rarely watched by only one person. A mother may be the center of infant care, but fathers, grandparents, older siblings, and nearby relatives form additional eyes and hands. As the child grows, that protective circle begins teaching something even more important: how to read the forest before the forest becomes dangerous. Because in the Amazon, safety is not created by walls. It is created by knowledge passed from watcher to another. The lessons begin long before anyone calls them lessons. A toddler follows an older sibling to the edge of a garden. A child watches a parent prepare fish, repair a basket, choose a path, or pause when a sound changes in the trees. Nobody opens a textbook titled "How Not to Die in the Rainforest." Knowledge enters through repetition. Watch, imitate, make a small mistake, receive a warning, and try again. Among the Matsugenka of the Peruvian Amazon, ethnographers have described adults giving young children small, useful tasks: picking up an object, carrying something light, or chasing a chicken away from the house. A child learns that work is not hidden inside an adult world. It happens beside them, and they are gradually expected to participate. Independence develops inside the family, not away from it. Amazonian children are not kept alive by being protected from every branch, insect, blade, flame, or river. No family could completely childproof a rainforest. Instead, many children are introduced to risk in manageable amounts while experienced people remain close. A child who understands where to step, what not to touch, and when to call an adult is safer than one encountering the forest for the first time at an older age. The Amazon contains an overwhelming number of species, and many can look similar to an untrained eye. Some provide fruit, fibers, building material, dyes, or medicine. Others irritate the skin, contain toxins, or simply offer nothing useful. Research among Tsimane communities in Bolivia found that children's plant knowledge was strongly connected to their household and especially to what they learned through their mothers. This knowledge was not downloaded in one dramatic ceremony. It accumulated during ordinary walks, garden work, food preparation, and conversations. Stories and songs can carry information too. Studies of traditional Tsimane songs show that wildlife and hunting knowledge can be encoded in performances people remember and repeat. A warning inside a story is easier for a child to carry than a list of rules. An animal may become a character. A careless person suffers a consequence. A skilled person notices a sign everyone else ignores. Entertainment becomes memory, and memory becomes protection. Then there is the river. Across enormous parts of the Amazon, a river is a road, a source of food, a playground, and one of the greatest dangers nearby. In a studied riverine community of the Middle Amazon, children learned to swim through play in familiar areas, particularly during seasonal flooding. Swimming eventually gave them greater freedom of movement and allowed them to participate in fishing. But the important word is learned. Children were not born with a mysterious river instinct. Skill emerged through repeated contact with the water and the presence of people who already understood it. They also learned that the same river never stays exactly the same. Rain can change its speed and depth. Floodwater can cover familiar ground. A safe landing place can disappear. Reading water therefore means watching color, current, floating debris, weather, and the decisions of experienced boat handlers. A child's freedom expands only as their ability expands. This produces a childhood that can look unusually independent to an outsider. Children may move through community spaces, handle practical responsibilities, care for younger siblings, and solve small problems without an adult directing every second. But independence should not be confused with neglect. Among the Runa of Ecuador, researchers describe child rearing as developing both personal will and responsiveness to other people. The child is becoming capable, but also learning that survival is social, and that may be the deepest protection the forest classroom provides. It teaches children to notice change. A new animal sound, an unfamiliar plant, a rising river, a younger sibling wandering too far, or an adult suddenly becoming quiet can all mean something. Danger rarely announces itself clearly. It appears first as a small difference from yesterday. But even the most observant child cannot see a malaria parasite entering the blood or bacteria contaminating a cup of water. Forest knowledge can prevent many accidents. It cannot stop every infection. And when a child becomes dangerously sick, families must rely on another system, where ancestral knowledge, community judgment, and modern medicine finally meet. When sickness arrives, traditional and modern medicine often exist together. Research along Brazil's Upper Rio Negro found that forest peoples understood malaria through both local knowledge and biomedical ideas. Families might recognize familiar symptoms, consult an experienced healer, use plant preparations, and still seek testing or pharmaceutical treatment when available. The greatest challenge is often distance. A dangerous fever can begin in a village reachable only by river. Reaching a health post may require fuel, a boat, favorable water, and hours of travel. Community health workers, radios, vaccination campaigns, rapid malaria tests, antibiotics, and antimalarial drugs have therefore become essential parts of child survival. They do not erase indigenous knowledge. At their best, they work beside it, but access remains unequal, and this story should not be romanticized. Research among Tsimane families found infant deaths were highest in remote areas with limited medical access, with infections responsible for more than half of those deaths. Traditional skill can identify danger and support a child, but it cannot always replace oxygen, laboratory testing, vaccines, or the correct medicine. So how do people keep children alive in the Amazon rainforest? Not through one miraculous herb, fearless children, or bodies naturally immune to danger. They build layers of protection. Babies remain close to caregivers. Food and knowledge come from the surrounding environment. Relatives share attention. Children learn plants, water, weather, work, and responsibility through daily participation. Elders preserve memory. Health workers bring additional tools. And when one layer fails, another may catch the child. Back in your home, a thermometer. and nearby hospital make protection look like equipment. In the rainforest, protection often looks like relationships. Someone watching, remembering, teaching, paddling, and refusing to leave a sick child behind. The forest remains dangerous. Children survive because an entire community learns to notice danger first.